Daniel. And hello again to Reston, Virginia, because Reston, Virginia. Next, we're going to have Beth Kindig, the product evangelist from Personograph. Coming out here, Beth. Welcome. Wonderful to meet you. Thank you for joining us on GamesBeat Online.
Great to be here.
Oh, we really appreciate it.
I was here last year. I was presenting on global markets,
Okay.
and was able to catch some of the program yesterday. From my perspective, it's one of the best conferences for just getting a lot of executives together and knowing what they plan to do next with their strategy.
Absolutely.
So just been having a lot of fun watching the show this year.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about what companies should be doing next for their strategy. But first, let's give people who were not here last year, but here for the first time, a little about your background, a little context about you.
Okay, great. So I've been in mobile for 5 years, and that's been my complete focus. It started as a VC analyst, so I was hired by multinationals to hunt startups. And a lot of these were mobile second screen apps, ad agencies that they could then enter the market with. Fast forward, I then moved into a position which helped publishers expand globally, so to APAC regions such as India, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and how to run a burst campaign in regions that you're entering for the first time. And that was really fun. A lot of late night Skype calls to make sure those burst campaigns went through.
Yes.
But it was really interesting to see them throw so much money into that acquisition.
And a lot of very different markets, too. I mean, you're listing countries, but those are very just different, not just geographically, but different types of consumers of games.
Completely different. You'd be surprised as to how much money you can make off games in Indonesia. I mean, we all hear about Japan, but then there's these other little nuances of the customers inside of these other countries that are very attractive to big publishers. After that, I went into another company that focuses a lot on creatives and how to deliver the best gaming creative inside of the app. So emerging markets and creatives, although I would say that those are all very secondary to what runs mobile, because mobile is this controlled environment, and what really runs it is data. And so now I'm with this, and that is what the future of mobile is, and I think that's why this session is called Winter is Coming, is because data, you have to be really careful about this device that we have with all of these different signals, and the fact that users are engaged with this device. What does that mean, and what does it mean for your gaming business?
Yes.
Yeah.
So everyone is looking to grow, and whether they're trying to grow globally, as you've had experiences with, or even inside a specific geography, like be bigger in America, be bigger in Japan, it's important for them to really understand their audience. Now, I want to go back for a second. So you talked a little bit about, for example, like in Indonesia, that people play and consume more in different ways than they do in other regions.
Yeah.
Right? So that seems like a different type of customer. Like, tell me a little bit about that, because I think that's maybe going to inform what we're going to talk about with what companies are going to be doing here.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of it is looking at operating systems. So we know Android is really big in those areas. We know free-to-play. It was the emerging markets that really pushed hard on free-to-play, and then the rest of us had to catch up. But when you break down your audience, and this is why it's so important to look at who is really playing your game, underneath it all, are they moms? Are they tech enthusiasts? Are they millennials? And that's going to enable the publisher to run user acquisition, to increase lifetime value, and ultimately, the biggest holy grail here that we're all after is how do you invite brands into your app?
Got it. Okay.
Right.
So brands coming into your app and having brands able to advertise and bring those marketing dollars into your app. Now that's something we're going to talk about. We're going to dive in.
Right.
I've got to ask you about this title, though.
Sure.
Game of Thrones theme show.
It is a Game of Thrones theme show.
Winter is coming.
Yes.
So at first it sounds like sugar and rainbows. Brands are coming, but there's also a winter. So tell me a little bit about that title. What is the winter ahead?
Sure. Well, I guess you could say in general terms that mobile has been a very myopic outcast. So especially publishers have been somewhat myopic in that they have not really planned for long-term revenue success. And I'm making sweeping statements here, but follow me. A lot of it is because there's cross promotion, right? And so gaming app delivers an ad inside of gaming app, and that's eating market share.
Yes.
And what is the bigger vision is, how do you invite brand advertisers who have these incredible budgets? So let me just give you some statistics here.
Okay.
Pretty much the top app install advertiser, which in gaming would be, Supercell or King, they spend about $500 million a year.
Got it.
And they fuel a lot of the revenue inside of gaming apps.
They are the biggest advertiser. They are the, so to speak, like the Coca-Cola or the Ford, but it's inside, it's an endemic ad.
Exactly. So, but when you can actually get Ford and Coca-Cola into mobile, their budgets are 8 times. So they're around $3 to $4 billion per year.
Wow.
And there's lots of them.
Wait, now just to be clear, because it's a lot of money. Now you're saying specifically focused on digital ads, on mobile ads? Like what is that 3 to 4 billion? Is it the TV ads I see? Like what is that?
So here's the opportunity.
Okay.
So these brands have 3 to 4 billion in their budgets.
Yep.
And time on mobile has now exceeded, according to the Bureau of Labor, has exceeded television. So you can see where their thinking is going. You have to think of it from their perspective.
I've got my mobile device right here, right now. I won't see TV for days.
That's right, that's right. And so we're spending 2 hours and 57 minutes per user per day on mobile.
Okay.
2 hours, 48 minutes on television.
Wow.
So mobile has added an hour to the screen in the past 2 years. So these brands are starting to think about that. But if you look at their budgets, they're only spending 8% of their budget on mobile compared to 80% on television. So there's a lot of room. And so for sure, not all 3 billion or 4 billion of the budget would migrate to mobile. But if you could raise that to 20% of their budget, which would be a good allocation considering where consumers are spending their time, we're suddenly going to see many more publishers make a lot more money, especially in gaming, which lends itself to video. And that's where TV advertisers are most comfortable, is with the video format.
Yep.
And that level of engagement that gaming provides. So you can see the two.
So I want to just jump into segmentation a little bit now, because you've got my mind thinking. So you spoke about how I think it was 2 hours and 57 minutes and 2 hours and 48 minutes. I would imagine that as a segment, gamers, people who play games of all kinds, would perhaps be even more biased towards mobile, right? And I would think that another segment, I guess young people, right, who've always had a mobile device in their hands, and it's part of their normal interaction, would be even more skewed towards mobile, a balance of mobile to television, versus older people who, is more of an ancillary item, like they get on the phone. So is that something that's being observed? Like if I'm an advertiser trying to draw in 18 to 34s, or moms, or like all the segments that play games, it seems like they'd be even.
It's almost impossible to reach millennials anywhere but mobile.
Interesting.
Right. So you can imagine all these brands that are struggling to reach these up-and-coming 18 to 24-year-olds, and how do you actually reach them if they're not watching television?
Yeah, it's interesting. Young people that they aren't cutting the cord, but never plug the cord in, right? If they go into adult, 18 to 24, right? They get out of school, out of high school, out of college, and don't get cable or don't buy a satellite, which seems. Right, if you're older, like, what? That's when you get your big TV. But like, no, you engage with me through mobile, and that's a great opportunity. Okay, now I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
It's also about reaching the non-core gamers for publishers. Now, if publishers want to look at how can I use audiences beyond brand advertising, how can I use it to expand my user reach?
Yes.
So we heard yesterday, the Candy Crush mom.
Yep.
And nobody really thought, when gaming was driven by consoles, that there would be moms at grocery stores playing Candy Crush. But that's a non-core gaming group, so you want to be able to move beyond gaming apps to reach them.
Absolutely.
But you're not going to be able to do that unless you run segments and know that your game is popular with females 35 to 44 that have kids.
Gotcha.
So Kim Kardashian app is a great example. That game is really popular with women that don't have kids. So now if they want to go and acquire more users, they might do that in fashion verticals or travel verticals, because people without kids travel frequently. So now a new way to go about and find these non-core gamers, which is how people will survive the maturation of mobile.
So it's a two-way street. So there's these owners of content, game creators, who want to reach a bigger audience. So they need to understand their segment so they can decide where to effectively advertise outside of the inner loop of games. Like you just gave an example. And then there's also the advertisers who are like, I want to effectively reach an audience that is not watching TV, but there's information I need in order to do it the same way that I do it on TV or in magazines or any other medium. And that's sort of an expectation that game companies need to meet. So how do game companies do that? Like how do they, you said they were myopic, how do they get a clearer vision?
They really start by prioritizing who is using my app, not what are they doing. Okay. So for the most part, you'll see a lot of the products that people use to run analytics is very what are they doing. So it's session activity events, those completions, and are they leveling up? It's this very what-driven focus, and you really need to go deeper into who they are.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's super interesting because that's how I think about sort of user acquisition versus user even retention. So when I think of acquisition, and this is my old time thinking, I would think what would matter is sort of, what are you, where are you, and when are you playing, right? But who are you, why are you playing seems almost like a retention thing of how do you get maybe higher value users that you could have like more of an LTV because you understand sort of who they are and why they're playing.
Right.
They might be worth, so to speak, $10 versus $1.
That's exactly it. It's your high value user. And if you can start to understand what portion of your audience is the high value
player gamer,
player gamer, and then go and replicate that and find more of them, your acquisition is going to be healthy.
That seems good. So I imagine some people at home believe. They go, you're right. I need to have this in my plan. So what are some of how are people attacking this problem now, and how can you help them attack it even better?
Sure. And are we talking about user acquisition or allowing brand advertisers in?
You know what? We're going to do both. So let's first talk about, we're GamesBeat. Let's talk about game companies, right? I've got a popular game, and I want to expand my audience across sort of those who's and those whys. How do I actually tangibly, do that? Because I've got a lot of analytics, which is exactly what you said. Who finished level 7, or whatever. But what you're talking about, what do I do?
What you do is you connect to our platform, right? And we run Personograph. And we run analysis and we hook it up to our platform. And what is returned is segments and demographics and interest and intent. So you're going to know, are they interested in fashion, travel? There's all sorts of categories. In fact, we have a 5,000 category taxonomy, which you can build custom segments with. Gotcha. And now, especially if you're, people talk about China, right? And if you're going to go to a country that has 700 million smartphones, it's going to be really helpful to know that your core gamers are, into fashion, and they're females, and they're this age, et cetera, et cetera. So you can now take that to anywhere that you run your acquisition campaign and acquire those people. That seems so smart because I think we would talk about China or Indonesia, any market, right? I think people intuitively go, okay, that's where they are, right? And they might intuitively go, this is how old they are. But the very important question of what are their habits and how do they align, with the habits that like fashion or golf or anything, technology or cars. Like that seems like another important layer. So that's something where you empower a game company to sort of know what the profiles of their universe are. Okay, and then they can use that anywhere to, super smart. I get that. So now tell me, I'm a brand. So brands right now, it sounded like, and now tell me if I misspeak, they're not getting the information they need in order to buy effectively, right? That's exactly it. Mobile is not attractive to brands because we are not giving brands enough information for them to feel confident to allocate those dollars. Okay. And that is really where things can change for gaming because you're going to see so many more revenue streams open up. And really, if you want to look really far into the future. Okay. Is that far like a month, a year, 5 years? I'm willing to look far. We're going to look forward, but I'm going to say 2 years. Okay, 2 years. 2 years into the future. GamesBeat 2017. You heard it here first. Okay. Gaming publishers who have a really healthy user base, right, which may only be about 10 of them, will start to broker their own ads. So they will have their own ad sales teams that then sell the inventory rather than having to hook up to exchanges and programmatic places, just like Facebook does.
So there'll be channels. So sort of, I'm going to go back 5 years. So when I think about like the EA Sports having in-game advertising sales teams.
Right.
So you're saying in your mind that it'd be like the Supercell on platform ad sales team, which is selling. Oh, okay, I get it now because they've got an audience. They've got a channel, like a TV channel, functionally, right? They've got like an HBO,
right,
or they've got an NBC, so to speak, and now they can sell against that. That makes sense to me.
So Facebook has this really engaged audience.
Yes.
You know, and they have 2 billion users or something of that sort. So let's say that Supercell has a fraction of that, and it's still a valuable audience. And so if you can create audience segments where people can go onto a platform and buy those segments,
yes,
they can say, I want tech enthusiasts, or I want the people who are the soccer moms from Candy
yes,
Crush. So I am, you know, a Target.
Yes.
And I want to buy Candy Crush inventory.
Yep. And
so I can go to the private marketplace and buy that inventory because I know that there are segments of new moms.
Got it. So it's interesting because as I was thinking about what you're describing, I'm realizing that some of the like seminal marketing experiences growing up, you know, the commercials, you know, for me, you know, I like to keep the world sing, like the Coca-Cola commercials, like the epic ones.
Right, the epic ones.
The Mean Joe Green, like those commercials that in the future, the polar bears, right?
Love them.
That those might exist as a mobile experience. And that what we're talking about, the same way that today people will pass a YouTube video very easily, right? Have you seen this? Right. Boom, right? And you get a link. Or in your Facebook Messenger, have you seen this? Bunk, bunk, right? Things go viral. That the idea of ads being experienced broadly for the first time as mobile experiences will actually be very common for millennials and beyond. That actually will be the default experience. Right. And so for advertisers, in order to stay, you know, relevant, they've got to be in these channels. And as game companies grow and become these channels, it's going to be super interesting. Like, oh, where'd you see it? Oh, I saw it on Candy Crush, which makes no sense in a historic game sense. Right. But as you're describing it, 2 years from now, there'll be a time where we're able to have a really healthy discussion about the ratings and the specific, not just demographics, but what do you call them? Profiles? What do you call when you know they like golf and they like Albuquerque and they
segments. Audience segments.
The audience segments, which specific
like golfers or wine lovers or fashion shoppers, new moms, auto enthusiasts are one of the top requested segments. Mm-hmm. Because think about BMW and Audi. Sure. What app do you go to advertise? There is no perfect car app that you're gonna know by vertical, so you're gonna have to buy auto enthusiast segments. Yes. So imagine if you can do that with a game, and you can see an Audi ad, and Audi knows with a certain level of confidence that these people love. No, I'm with you. So I think about so literally with auto enthusiasts and olden time thinking in terms of TV channels, right? You go whatever car and track channel, something with cars on it, NASCAR. But obviously there's shows where it might turn out that I don't know, back in the day, Home Improvement indexed higher for automotive. And I think games could have same sort of thing where it's not just topical, right? It's not just topical.
It's the segments that play it actually become part of the value proposition for these games. So wait, we got to make it actionable. So I've got a game, I come to you. Now, what if I'm a brand? How does a brand, do they engage with you?
They absolutely engage with us. Okay. Yep, we are a programmatic platform, a data programmatic platform, which means that we enter the real-time trading with data first. So you're buying and selling audience segments instead of just apps. So I'm a brand at home. How do I reach you? How do I reach you? You told me, and you know, Q4 is happening. That's right. I want to make this happen. How do I reach you? That's a great question. Twitter, email, web, what is the way? Okay, Twitter is great, but really go to our website, personagraph.com. There's contact. Yeah, there's contacts there. And there's a Twitter at Personagraph? At Personagraph. Okay. Yes. Okay, or email, which they can find through the website. That's right. Everything is on our website. You can even request our taxonomy. You can look. Taxonomy is such a great word. Everyone at home knows what taxonomy is, right? It's like a set of the segments, yes, right, by which you understand the universe of players. And we have information for publishers, and we have information for brand advertisers too. So. Okay, well, Beth, thank you very much. Thank you, Gordon, for joining us for GamesBeat Online 2015.